The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Chapter 1. Summary. According to Covey, the majority of people look for easy solutions to their problems rather than following the tried-and-true procedures for problem solving. He uses the example of the quick solutions that he and his wife Sandra attempted to implement for their son, who was only average at baseball, as an illustration. In this section, Covey asserts that people have a tendency to see the massive success of their fellow friends and feel the urge to find out how their friend did it, nursing the idea that they, too, could follow a similar process like a quick bullet list and succeed. Covey explains that this is because people have a tendency to compare themselves to the successes of their fellow friends. Covey faces the challenge in his marriage of a waning spark of compassion toward his wife, which compels him to look for the traditional methods that other people do in order to reignite the love life in their marriages. According to the arguments put up by Covey, the difference that actually makes a difference in the lives of individuals does not necessarily originate from the outside in, but rather, in essence, from the inside out. He explains the idea of inside out by relating instances of primary and secondary grandeur, the feature of seeing and being, as well as the perspective of individuals towards an issue and their approach to resolving it. Covey comes to the realization that he and his wife have a flawed strategy for dealing with the issue after they have already attempted preventative measures such as encouraging their son in his academic pursuits and coaching him in baseball. Covey comes to the realization, as a result of his experience with his son, that the problem was not his son but the way he regarded him as a problem. People, on the other hand, look for individualized ways of empowering what the kid can do and of giving him independence as a shift that occurs from the inside out. In this section of the book, Covey emphasizes that having a paradigm shift is the most objective approach to make a difference in one's life and that this is something that everyone can do. Covey adds that the paradigm shift, just as the scientific and mathematical meanings, is the shift from one's perspective and point of view of the world. This is the case in this particular instance. In his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey talks on the impact of shifting one's paradigm, which he refers to as having an aha moment in one's life. He uses the works of Kuhn and Ptolemy as historical instances of paradigm shifts in the fields of science and astronomy, respectively. According to Covey's theory, people did not become concerned with the treatment of wounds until they learned that germs were present in the environment. After listening to more information and considering what they have heard, one may come to the conclusion that their initial way of thinking was incorrect. Covey promotes the idea that society should focus on getting to the root of problems, which serves as the foundation for paradigms of both attitude and conduct. The notions of seeing and being assist individuals in gaining a better perspective on the challenges they are facing. Covey continues by saying that in order for him and his wife Sandra to have an effect on their kid, they first needed to start seeing him. They needed to be different in their own unique way. Listening is also essential to having a new perspective on things, as demonstrated by the fact that Covey did not understand the father and children in the park until he asked what was wrong with them. In his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen R. Covey encourages people to cultivate an attitude of gratitude for the process of paradigm shift because it is a gradual but certain process that, in the end, results in quantum change. According to Stephen Covey, the most important component of the behaviors of productive individuals is a shift to a new way of thinking. He cites the words of Albert Einstein, who said that the majority of the issues that humanity is currently facing can never be solved by employing the same line of thinking that was used when those problems were first established. The latter demonstrates that in order for people to solve difficulties, they need to dive deeper into their logic and rationality because engaging in the same pattern of behavior again and over again is insane. Covey urges the reader to continue investigating since it is the only thing that may lead people to better places, and this is the reason why the second reason is so important. In his book, Covey acknowledges having both internal and outward problems to deal with the numerous instances of incompetence that occurred during his life. Not only does he feel an urgent desire to attain success for himself and his family, but he also feels the pressure to replicate the strategies that his peers have used to achieve their own levels of success. Covey opens up about his issues with his weight, the lack of discipline he has with his nutrition, and his manipulative tendencies, which include controlling any outcome by forcibly imposing his will on other people. He He also discusses the difficulties he has experienced in his marriage, as well as the issues he has had to deal with his adolescent son and his daughter, who refuses to share her toys. These problems, as seen in this part, challenge him to look for answers that are both long-lasting and realistic concerning the behaviors of productive people. Analysis. The summary of the 7 habits that is offered by Covey in this section is considered to provoke and test the mind to the point where it is pushed to its limit. Over the course of more than 2 decades, Covey has had the opportunity to engage in conversation with a variety of individuals who have accomplished significant goals. Covey has spent his life rubbing shoulders with a lot of successful people, and it is clear that the majority of those people have had a strong desire to improve their own efficiency as well as their interpersonal interactions. In this section, the importance of the proper application of principles as the essential component to long-term happiness and contentment becomes abundantly clear. In this scenario, the correct application of principles will influence habits and behavior in the direction of an inside-out success and paradigm change. The reading of this book enables one to reach the conclusion that human instincts are the driving force behind habits. On the other hand, some human behaviors are the result of circumstantial factors, and as a result, an individual's reaction to changes in their life is entirely dependent on the causal factors in their immediate surroundings. Covey is of the opinion that human beings are essentially blank slates, similar to a sheet of paper, and that it is up to individuals to exert sufficient effort in order to create something on the page that will govern their life and the interactions with other people. The gradual process of writing on an empty page is what ultimately results in the development of human conduct and character. According to Covey, character and personality are influenced in numerous ways, and the paradigm shift is the component that plays a part in the portion that plays a part in implementing change to a person. A person's paradigms serve as glasses through which they view the rest of the universe, and because of this, a paradigm can ensure that an intentional and certain channel of the quantum shift is established. Paradigms are essential tools. It is a well-established fact that a person's paradigm plays a significant role in the formation of their outlook on the world. Thomas Kuhn provides more support for this concept when he asserts that individuals need to break with archaic traditions, antiquated modes of reasoning, and outmoded paradigms in order to make room for innovative innovations and contemporary ways of thinking. As a direct result of this, a new understanding of the linkages between individuals and success has been brought to light. The overarching concept here is that the shift in paradigm is around the nature of relationships to other people, attitudes, and the process of molding behavior. Chapter 2. Summary. In this section, Covey discusses the first habit of highly effective people, which is to take initiative. He asserts that each individual possesses the capacity to create their own reality because they are the ones in charge of their own lives. According to Covey, the concept of proactivity is the capacity to make independent decisions regarding the suitable stimulus to take on without being influenced by the outside world. According to Covey, the distinguishing feature that differentiates humans from animals is our capacity for proactive behavior. The analogy of Viktor Frankl is used by Covey to illustrate the distinction between a stimulus and a response. He does this to demonstrate that human beings have the ability to choose, which is what sets them apart from animals. He adds the fact that people not only have imagination, but they also have self-awareness, in contrast to animals, which are trained to behave in a particular manner. He says this to emphasize the difference between humans and animals. People have the imagination that enables them to create realities in the future that go beyond what is possible in the here and now. Additionally, a person possesses a conscience, which can be defined as a profound and natural awareness of good and wrong. People, in contrast to animals, do not respond in the proper manner to stimuli but rather respond after applying critical thought to problems. The author also discusses the disparity in terms of success and contentment that exists between those who have and those who be. Those who are considered to be haves are the type of individuals that want to achieve success by amassing possessions that bring them pleasure, such as a motor vehicle, for instance. When someone says that they are pleased when they have a car, they are a member of this group. These individuals place their pleasure and success in the hands of external factors, such as possessions, and are more concerned about what others will think of them and how well they will fit in with the group. The circle of people who are people look forward to changing their inner self by being what they desire, in contrast to the circle of people who are haves who dwell on their past failures and say things like, if I had a car. The haves are also the kind of people who tend to dwell on their past failures and regrets. In this section, Covey introduces the idea of the circle of control as it relates to the depiction of everything that individuals care to connect emotions to. He brings up the point that people have only a small amount of influence over the things and people they care about. Accordingly, they should narrow their attention and concentrate on the aspects of the situation over which they do have some say. This last point is also connected to the idea that the degree to which we are able to exert some degree of control over the circumstances surrounding us is inversely proportional to our propensity to give up and to succumb to boredom, which can take the form of grumbling as well as worrying. Covey adds that directing one's energy toward the aspects of one's life over which one has control will, in tandem, extend the circle of impact on one's level of success and contentment. The second pattern of behavior suggested by Covey is to begin with the completion of the task in mind. Covey encourages people to begin the process of constructing their reality by beginning with the final goal in mind. This allows them to be more specific about their goals. According to Covey, the second habit is based on the use of one's imagination in conjunction with the realization that there are two distinct methods of production, namely mental and physical creation. He goes on to say that the mayhem and disorder of randomness as well as circumstances are the direct outcome of a lack of clarity on the two criteria of creation on one's objectives. Therefore, the advice that Covey gives to his readers is to align their lives with the principles by compiling the goals of their personal mission, which take the directions of what one wants to be and do in life. Analysis. In this particular instance, Covey analyzes 3 habits that are connected to the independence phase of the process. Private victory is attributed to independence and efficiency along with personal decisions, and in this context, the first practice of being proactive emphasizes the necessity of assuming control of one's own life by becoming their own captain. It is possible to deduce, based on the writing in the book, that each step one takes brings them one step closer to opportunities. The concept of being proactive encourages taking planned and purposeful action that positions one to be successful in all of their activities. Not only can being proactive make one better, but it also kick-starts the process of doing things in a different way than other people. If people were to acquire a sense of responsibility and the diligence of action with regard to this habit, then appropriate decision-making would take place. As a consequence of this, the characteristics of mankind will not be shaped by the conditions of the world, but rather by the choices that people make. The second habit of starting with the result in mind signifies the visualization of principles that will lead the result. In other words, starting with the result in mind means starting with the end in mind. This pattern of behavior articulates the concept that creation occurs twice, first in the mind and then physically, and this concept may be adapted to apply to many aspects of life, including work and family. The author outlines a method for achieving outstanding outcomes by encouraging the reader to establish a mission goal on a daily basis in order to make the most of their available time. This is referred to as the daily private win, which assists in keeping one's attention directed toward their goal. Covey helps people achieve momentum in their lives by aiding them to get control of their energy and channel it toward goals. As a result, he views leadership as first being the creation of something and then the management of something. The third habit, which involves setting priorities and ensuring that the most important matters are addressed first, is best described as being the captain of your ship. The latter presupposes, as a result, that one is able to maintain some semblance of order in their lives by channeling their efforts into fruitful endeavors. The third habit requires that one behave in a way that is consistent with the flow of events and does not go against the natural order of things. Covey encourages the reader to be forceful in decision-making and to say no to projects that are deviating from their goals. The author asserts that this section's focus on the reader's independence can be achieved through the cultivation of 3 habits that are essential to the development of sound moral principles. Chapter 3. Summary. In this sense, public victory does not mean winning at the expense of other people, but rather public victory refers to the effective engagement with the people around one while attempting to achieve goals through sound communication. It It is a win for society as a whole when an individual is able to achieve harmony with their contemporaries and when other individuals are able to achieve this harmony with them as well. This phase and section start a chapter of interdependence that is explained in the book. Habits 4 through 6 are included in this chapter. The concepts of interdependence are discussed in the context of a situation in which it is believed that a friendship cannot exist in the absence of confidence, and conversely, confidence cannot exist in the absence of integrity. According to Covey, achieving success on an individual level is the first step toward achieving success on a broader scale, much like the progression from algebra to calculus. The work contains a variety of analogies and subjects, each of which contributes to the reinforcement of the paradigms. In his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen R. Covey discusses the concept of building up one's emotional bank account. Understanding others, finding significance in the insignificant things, honoring one's obligations, clarifying expectations, developing one's integrity, and apologizing when one withdraws from an engagement are the 6 important deposits that the author educates the reader about. An analogy that represents the effort that people need to put into maintaining a good rapport and healing relationships as a long-term asset investment is called an emotional bank, and it is referred to as the emotional bank. The P problems or PC opportunities paradigm is an additional key paradigm of interdependence. This dynamic illustrates how individuals view the issues they face in their lives. Covey gives an example that illustrates parents and children in such a way that parents should view challenging experiences with their children as the golden opportunity to build stronger relationships with them rather than viewing their children's irritations as burdensome, which would subsequently shift the parent-child interaction. Covey illustrates this point with the help of an illustration that illustrates parents and children. The author encourages readers to realize the P/PC balance as a means to an end of efficiency in the interdependence reality, which regards people's issues as the perfect opportunity. As a result of this, the author urges readers to recognize the P/PC balance. The 4th habit is composed of the fundamentals of interpersonal leadership, which may be put into practice through the adoption of a positive attitude toward one's own personal improvement and the implementation of a reward system. The author makes the case that one cannot generate any outcomes through a model of competition that yields rapid remedies, but that one can generate results from one's own personal organization and greatness that emerges tangibly. The author refers to the following as the 6 paradigms of human interaction: win-win, win-lose, lose-win, lose-lose, and no-deal TM. These are used to further illustrate the 4th habit. The models of interaction are regulated by the strategies that human beings employ in order to achieve something or derive some benefit from their interactions. For example, a human contact that is considered to be win-win is one in which both parties make ongoing efforts to derive mutual advantage from the interaction. The 5th pattern is the principles that surround empathic communication. These principles advise that individuals should first try to understand so that they can also be comprehended, because the heart contains reasons that other people do not know about. In accordance with Habit 5, Covey discusses the many different aspects that people need to take into consideration. These aspects include character and communication, empathic listening, analyzing before prescribing, and understanding in perspectives. When considering someone's motives before making a judgment on them, it's important to keep in mind that they likely have inner conflicts of their own. In his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen R. Covey uses the analogy of a parent who is in a park with his children who are playing noisily and annoying other people. When the author inquires about the situation, he learns that the man just recently lost his wife, and the children recently lost a mother and did not know how to channel their grief. The author and other people feel that the man should control the children. However, when the author inquires further, he finds out that the man just recently lost his wife. The 6th habit provides an explanation of the fundamental ideas that underpin both creative collaboration and the synergized TM methodology. The synergy in creative cooperation helps to catalyze the forces that lie dormant within people, as well as unify and liberate the capabilities that lie dormant within people. Synergy is intentionally included as the 6th habit on the list by Covey so that all of the habits that came before it can be combined to create the wonder of synergy. Synergistic communication, the presence of synergy in the classroom and in business, appreciating diversity, force field analysis, and fishing for third option are some of the concepts of cooperation. Throughout this section, Covey makes the point that the most important aspect of synergy is to acknowledge differences, respect them, develop strengths, and compensate for existing deficiencies. He emphasizes the necessity of synergy throughout this section. Analysis. It is possible to deduce from Part 3 that Covey wants to educate people on the concept of public victory by using the paradigms of interdependence, human connections, and synergy. In order to keep a positive rapport with other people, the overarching principle that Covey is advocating is that of acting fairly and justly toward them. Habit 4 explains how people interact with one another and the factors that play a role in shaping their relationships. In this particular instance, Covey poses a challenge to the reader to select the most effective model of human interactions that gives due consideration to the values of fairness, honesty, and honor. A conclusion that can be drawn from the fourth habit is that the foundation of maturity and a liberal mindset is the ability to display genuine happiness towards the success of those around you. This is shown by the fact that one can display real happiness towards the success of the people around them. It should come as no surprise that effective communication is at the core of achieving success in Habit 5. The tendency, which is Habit 5 in this instance, uses an empathic strategy, which is a method that seeks comprehension and awareness of other people's feelings and situation before prescribing judgment. The importance of having the ability to correctly diagnose a problem before offering a solution to the problem is emphasized throughout this pattern of behavior throughout the book. It is clear that individuals have a propensity to evaluate a book by its cover rather than paying attention to the concerns that are more fundamental, as the anecdote in the park is used to illustrate by Covey. However, Covey offers a solution to Habit 5, suggesting that individuals should first make an effort to communicate and gain a better understanding of the issue before pronouncing judgment. The sixth habit, which strives to connect the other habits through synergy, is the cherry on top of Part 3 in this context. It is the habit that crowns the cream of the crop. The sixth habit makes use of the knowledge that different people have different worldviews, capacities, and ways of thinking, which, when effectively utilized, can result in a larger and more successful effort. In this particular instance, Covey encourages the reader to appreciate the variety of viewpoints that exist and to be more accepting of other people. People are forced to recognize each other because of the synergy, and when they do so, the true shortcomings are compensated for by the collective strengths of the people. This is the conclusion that can be drawn from this situation. Chapter 4. Summary. This section presents the idea of sharpening the saw, also known as Habit 7, which is further defined by the principles of self-renewal balancing. The author explains that he purposefully put the practice of sharpening the saw as the final habit since it is the routine that has the most influence on the potential for all of the other habits. The concepts that allow for balanced self-renewal include the quad dimensions of renewal, the ability to script others, the balancing of renewals, and the physical and spiritual dimensions, the mental and social dimensions, and the social dimensions. The saw must be sharpened on a consistent basis using a method that consistently applies all four of nature's driving forces in a way that is both rational and balanced. People have to take responsibility for their own performance if they want to see the results of their efforts, which means they have to be proactive. Diet, rest, and exercise are all important aspects of maintaining a healthy body, which plays a role in the development of the physical dimensions. Being proactive is the first habit that enables one to act in accordance to the promises one has made, and physical dimension helps one to be proactive. The second dimension is the spiritual dimension, which according to Covey is a source of leadership in one's life and is closely related to the second habit. The spiritual dimension also has a close relationship with habit number 2. The author contends that the commitment to one's value system must have a spiritual component, which is both the center and the target of the commitment. According to Covey, the act of meditating and reading scripture helps him reinforce and renew his commitment to serving others and achieving his goals. The mental component can be attained through one's studies and through formal education. This is because as one increases their level of knowledge, they also increase their level of mental capacity. The author emphasizes the significance of engaging in varied reading in order to acquire the ability to rationalize in an acceptable manner. The social and emotional dimension has tight ties to empathic communication and interaction, as well as to leadership. According to Covey, a person's capacity for emotional growth and maturity is created through the course of their interactions and relationships with other people. Contributing to the emotional bank in such a way that people are encouraged to perceive other people through the lens of their latent potential is similarly related to the practice of scripting the other. The idea of scripting other people helps establish trust by allowing those people to become more self-reliant while also increasing the level of satisfaction they experience in their life. The author extends the concept of balance and renewal to include self-renewal, which incorporates the concept of balancing all four dimensions in such a way that the individual's life is brought closer to a state of equilibrium as a result. The aforementioned principles of consistent self-renewal function in conjunction with one another to bring about an upward spiral of development that results in ongoing advancement. The conscience is the engine that propels the upward spiral, which is something that can only be applied to the human endowment. Covey paraphrases what Dag Hammarskjöld said, which is that a person can't play without the animal in the person coming out and becoming an animal. This remark by Dag makes the point that individuals need to be self-aware while selecting the principles that guide their behavior. Analysis. The concept that was derived from the renewal presents all 6 of the practices that were acquired, which in turn leads to the adoption of a standard operating procedure for leading a balanced life. It is necessary for a person to attempt to achieve equilibrium in their life in order for them to be able to continually renew their potential. The author encourages people to properly rest, refresh, take exercise, eat well, and discover a route to their spirituality and study broadly, which can be gathered from the text in part 4 of the book. The author concludes by asserting that religion is a crucial component in a person's equilibrium, which is necessary for the progression of society through the medium of social improvement. The act of honing a saw is symbolic of the process of cultivating one's cognitive abilities and rationality, monitoring one's physical health, and maintaining healthy relationships with other people. It has been discovered that habit 7 is connected to all of the other habits and that they are interdependent on one another. The 7th habit teaches you to concentrate on yourself and sharpens both your inner desire to learn and your ability to do so. In order to regain one's sanity and strike a healthy balance in one's life through the process of prioritizing tasks, it is essential for a person to create a timetable.